actions. Let's keep going back here.
But you understand, like, okay, first of all, I don't do this so I can have a podcast and make money, okay? I don't make money off of this. I made, like, probably $500 total when I was even, like, monetizing my Instagram. Total, the whole time, literally. I do this because children are being hurt. People are being injured. Like, people...
We all care about these same things. So
yes, but I feel that I care more because a lot of people are just sitting around trying to cash a paycheck. They like where they're at.
I care more.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise Crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you. That was...
Tyler Yonke, LPR on a Friday night with Timcast. This is his... I'm playing this as intro music because hopefully it won't get struck. I hope everyone's doing good out there. We got people in the chat already. Hang on. This intro is lit up. I don't know if you're talking about the intros that I was doing, the intro music. By the way, let's play this again. Let's do another little thing. Timcast. Tim Pool singing. And I don't necessarily, I mean, the song's cheesy. It sounds like good 80s stuff. And the reason I'm playing that is because he went on, okay, I had a test chat in there. He went on Twitter, Tim that is, and he's posting about, TV show, which I actually like, Severance. And he's just like, it's so stupid. And it's like, okay, this is my thing with TV and music. It's not for everybody. Some things, some people really like some things, some people really don't. And it depends on how it hits with you. I mean, I'm trying to get my wife into this Severance show and she just can't do it. I mean, it's just not happening. And for some reason, I got into it and I enjoyed it and I still enjoy it. So my point to that with Tim's just ripping on, which, people can have opinions. It's like, yeah, bitch, but what about your music? You're making music and putting it out there, and I think it's trash. So, who cares? Who cares? Stop getting so worked up over it. Stop. Oh my God. Hi, Tyler. Maybe the Jewish, Jewish lawyers. By the way, I did go on Horseshoes and Hand Grenades last week. Was it Tuesday? With Connie and Ass Butt. And that's not their real names, just so you know. And it was a good time. I had a really good time. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it was 8 o'clock. That's when my wife is winding down. So she was already, going to bed, and, it was like for 2 hours, and it would have been a long day the night before, all kinds of stuff. So my levels were a little low, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't, so if you're thinking, hey, Tyler didn't bring the heat. Okay, well, maybe. But then also, the screen that we're watching that they're using this EV Mux. It goes out the preview screen. So I had to bring it up on the Rumble just to kind of see what we're actually looking at. And that makes it difficult. It makes it difficult if you're not able to completely interact with, so whatever, it's what it is. So everyone's coming here. I wouldn't call that music, Council. Yeah. Well, but whatever. I mean, I do like some music that's complete trash, and I won't let you get it. Won't actually talk about it. Camera 2 is working. Camera 1's working. We've got it all. But why don't we start? It's crazy. Okay, let's back up. JC sent me a DM. Hey, you're doing a show this afternoon? And I'm like, oh my God, JC's in my DMs because that's how we deal with JC. And I'm like, yeah. And then he gave me a suggestion of a show that I didn't know anything about. And you guys are probably going to be like, this is ridiculous. And we'll get, maybe I might get to some of that. But I got some things lined up. So it might not be all that bad. But I thought this was interesting. This is the top 100 libertarian podcasts. Somehow this got, propagated around this last week. And it's somewhat fascinating because it's a lot of it's crap, but I mean, I think it's libertarian, first of all. And so in honor of that, I played that intro clip. Let's just throw it here again.
But you understand, okay, first of all, I don't do this so I can have a podcast and make money.
That chick, I don't know if you remember her, I blocked her. She came about, she had yoga pants, and she was, somewhat of a, trying to throw her ass out there for everybody, and she was very stupid. And she was trying to get into the libertarian movement, and libertarians weren't gatekeeping for like, oh, she's not a true libertarian. There was some of that. It was just like, we see what you're doing here, honey. Okay. So it reminded me of that. So look at number one here. Part of the problem, Dave Smith. Number two, Tom Woods. And then the number three, the Liberty Report. It makes a lot of sense, those ones. Free Talk Live, I think that's the one out of New Hampshire. That's been kind of a long time show. Yeah, 3,780 episodes. That's more than Tom Woods. Tom has more than 1322 now, I believe, though. Anyway, so these numbers are a little low. Reason TV, okay. I mean, yeah. Scott Horton Show, okay. Yeah, you've also got more than 1,200 episodes, I think, on his. The Cato Daily Podcast. Now, when I was first getting into libertarian shit, this was one I would listen to, and I did go away from them quite. Mises Institute, so I did move away from the Cato stuff. Took it off my phone. Lions of Liberty, still listen to them. Check them out every once in a while. Libertarian Institute. I didn't know they had their own separate podcast, but there you go. Liberty Lockdown. Clint, our boy, coming in at number 11. The Reason interview with Nick Gillespie. Actually, it's one that's still on my podcast feed because every once in a while Nick does some stuff where I'm doing yard work, and it's shows that are really interesting, like some of his interviews. And he does it actually. I think he's told me he's going to come on the show, and then he ghosts me, and I'm like, I sent in his DMs. I'm like, what drugs do I have to offer you? Because he's all about like microdosing this and this. I'm like, what drugs do I have to send you to come on my show? And he's like, oh no, I'm coming on, but I can only come on during work hours. I'm like, okay, well, then you fucking tell me when you can come on. I'll make it work. And we haven't done that for several years. Audio Mises Wire, it's a good snippet. Why are you going over these? Why not? Chris Spangle Show, horrible. Words and Numbers, never heard of it. Kibbe on Liberty, I do like Kibbe, Matt Kibbe, he's good. Bitcoin Audible, never heard of it. Brian Nichols Show, I've checked it out several times. I've done a review with him because he had some lady on there and she was totally misstating the law, even though I agree with her on a lot of stuff. Libertarian Christian Podcast, decent. Daily Mojo, never heard of it. Brad Staggs. So Brad Staggs used to be with the Blaze. So interesting. I didn't know he was at least if that's the same guy. I didn't know he's Based Politics. One of the worst shows ever. It is horrible. I mocked them for two dudes. Which one's more masculine? I mean, whatever. Path to Liberty, never heard of it. Peddling Fiction, Johnny Furtado or something like that. Perfida. I've listened to that one. I kind of moved away from it though. Soho Forum, we checked that out. Crypto Voices, never heard of it. Free Domain Project. This is Matt Agorist and Jason. They not the Free Domain, but the Free Thought Project. I think that's kind of defunct now. Libertarian Angle, never heard of it. Vital Defense, Patrick McFarlane, love that. He used to do a lot of deep dives. I think he's just too busy being a dad and working right now. So The Great Antidote, never heard of it. Kinsella on Liberty, never heard of it. No, I'm just kidding. He's been on our show. Stefan Kinsella Property and Freedom Podcast, never heard of that. Declare Your Independence, never heard of it. Radio Rothbard, I do check that one out. Dr. Reality, Dave Champion, never heard of it. Podcast, The Anarchists, never heard of it. Hayek Program, never heard of it. Punk Rock Libertarian Podcast, yeah, I guess I've heard of that, but it's not the one. No, I don't know. Maybe Keith Knight, of course, I've heard of that. Radio Libertad, that's a Mexican one, maybe. I don't know. Agorist Nexus, I've heard of it. Liberty Dad, our buddy, was it DL Cummings? He comes on in our podcast stuff and our chat here every once in a while. He's a good guy. Check that one out. And Liberty and Health, that's Kyle Matovic. He's been on the show. Kaido Radio, we don't care. I'm really doing this just to get down to 45. Libertarian Podcast Review, 143 episodes, but we are on episode 234. So this thing isn't by 5 out of 5 rating. There you go. 2 reviews. Me and my wife. I'm not going to go any, because it gets really bad after that. And I'm like, oh, wow. I just, Corbett Report. I mean, there's some, I don't know how they even rating this shit. So, there, there you go. Is Jeremiah's hard-hitting, is Jeremiah Harding's Twitter Spaces on that list? No, it's not. Okay, I think you guys empowered me. That's good. Tower Gang is Misfit still crying at you. You broke him good. I don't know. I blocked him and forced mommy. How many of these people do actual politics? I don't know. First mommy. I know you have a show. I didn't see it on there, so I don't know. Is it technically libertarian or not? I don't know. I don't. There's a lot I don't know. Punk rock guys are cool. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Forgot about. I listened to Patrick. Wow, 45. I know. Patrick has been uploading again recently. Yes, I definitely checked out. He had a new show, and I listened to that. Shout out Rise to Liberty. There we go. Corbett Report. I like dangerous retards on the list. Well, once again, I think this is a little bit old. This one here. So who knows where they're at. Okay, let's get to some of the hard-hitting news of the week. Hooters will reinstitute a re-Hooterization with a big change to restaurants. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. My kids are all adults now. I've only gone to Hooters like maybe once. It was when I worked at this financial institution. I did trade disputes, and they were moving out of California. And so, anyways, it was like our last day there, and a bunch of dudes. We went to Hooters. It's like whatever. So I don't know what that means that they're going to do. Should we actually look at the Hooters will institute a re-Hooterization, so maybe bring in some breasts back. Hooters' notorious bikini nights are set to be axed as the raunchy eatery attempts to avoid bankruptcy. Okay, a more family-friendly. Okay, I'm calling it a re-Hooterization. Oh, so they're not. Its so-called restaurant is attempting to overhaul its image too, according to Kiefer. Infamous for its scantily clad waitresses in bright orange hot pants and revealing baby tees and tank tops, the eatery is now undergoing a PG revamp. All right. Well, I'm out. That was the only thing I was just interested to see if, by the way, the story, it's fascinating, which basically they're going to make it more family friendly. So they put 2 chicks that don't have their own family, I guess. But you'd want to make one with them. Maybe. You know my stance on that. Right. Okay. So 2 topics down. And here's the problem we're really going to get into today. Oh, this is the story that JC brought to my attention. So you guys may already know about this. I don't know anything about this. Alex Rosen was charged with a felony. Now, I've seen some stuff out there. I just don't know about it. Fight for Kids was hit. Who's that? That's Alex Rosen. Okay, that's was hit with a felony first-degree harassment, misdemeanor trespass, and misdemeanor peace disturbance charges. His bond was set at $15,000 and is ordered to have no contact with the alleged victim and not return to any Steak and Shake restaurant. I am told he has been released from custody. Okay, so this dude, was the leader of an online predator hunting group, Predator Poachers. He was arrested at a Steak and Shake restaurant in Branson, Missouri on March 26. Rosen entered the restaurant to confront an employee whom his group had accused of inappropriate online contact with an underage girl. The restaurant manager asked Rosen to leave the property, but he refused, leading to his arrest for trespassing and harassment. Rosen claimed that the employee had previously been accused of molesting a 12-year-old and had engaged in similar behavior again. However, Rosen's actions were deemed disturbing the peace by the police. And he was arrested alongside the employee. The incident occurred when Rosen, who has over 400,000 followers on X, formerly Twitter, went to the restaurant to confront the employee based on information from an online sting operation. Okay. Let me just make some legal comments about this, which is, yes, you can get charged with felony, trespass, harassment for doing this kind of stuff. Okay, these are these pedo hunters. The reason that people have been getting away with this. And notice it's, I don't know if the restaurant person called that was the molester slash, person he was hunting. It sounds like it is that he worked there. The reason, though, that a lot of these, if you watch any of these shows, these pedo hunters, they get away with a lot of the stuff they do, which is outright, shakedowns. Sometimes it's literally assault and battery. Other times it's kidnapping, all kinds of stuff that might not be legal. But they get away with it because those people, what are they going to do? Say, hey, this guy over here, he caught me in the act, or trying to, get a girl, a little boy, or whatever it was. And then they did X, Y, and Z. So, they call their all this harassing that they do, which if you're just a normal person not trying to diddle kids, you would get away with, they wouldn't get away with doing that. So that's the whole context on that. So it happened. So in other words, one of these pedos had enough balls to call the police on it. I don't know. Now it sounds like this one particularly was one that he had already gone to jail. He had been previously been accused of molesting. Okay. And again, I don't know. I don't know the situation. JC seemed pretty excited about it. There you go. How many switched to pastries instead? Okay. 15 grand. Wow. Banned from steak and steak. Harsh. Burgers and beavers. Oh wait, we need I need some sound effects here. There you go. Yeah. Burgers and beavers. Okay, so maybe I'll dig into that a little more. I take it JC will be hitting me up on that a bit. I hope everyone's doing good. I hope the chat looks like it's working. I don't see any big payments coming through, but that's on you guys. I'm just not gonna push that. I did when I was on horseshoes and hand grenades. I started it off. I gave a 20 out there for those guys. Because they're good dudes and a lot of fun, and so they I don't know how hard up they are for money, but they beg a lot. They're really out there putting it, and you know what? It seems to work. You guys give them all kinds of money. So maybe save your money for them. Okay, let's take a look here, because I'm going to start working my way through some of this Jew stuff we got going on. And you're like, Tyler, again? Yeah, again, because it's so in the news right now, and I want to some extent, I want to normalize some of these things, right? So, and I'm going to play, in my open, you have a thing here with Joe Neerman, Good Logic, saying, Tyler, you suck, Tyler, whatever. Yeah, but I'm going to play a clip because he just did a debate, and I knew it was going to be this way. He did a debate with now it's a liberal guy. Now it's a liberal pro-Palestinian guy, okay? So and by the way, I think Joe's I think this conversation is not, it was good. They did a lot of, legal wrangling back and forth, which is good. But I saw, in Joe's, on his Twitter, people are immediately like, oh, this guy's like Destiny. This guy's not like Destiny. From a constitutional point of view, you may disagree with some things, but he's not a Destiny. He actually had good arguments with that. And I think he did it in good faith. And I think Joe, they're both the wrong people, right? You need like two white dudes, Christians, I think, to maybe be making this argument. One that's not a Jew and one that's not, Muslim type of thing, or just hates the Jews. So that you can have a proper conversation without this name throwing that goes back and forth. And I'm sorry, but the first one that slipped their foot into it was Joe, right? Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to kind of take this down here, and I'm going to play some of this stuff. I haven't listened to this yet, because Steven Crowder drives me nuts. And one of the things he drives me nuts about is the Israel stuff. We played last week a clip of him about JFK stuff, and he's right up there with Ben Shapiro. Oh, they want to be the Jews, and it's making a joke about it because like you're a stupid person for saying Israel, by the way, not the Jews. So I'm just interested to see where he's going to go with this AIPAC stuff, because I would assume now there's 4 minutes. That's a bit much. Let's do playback speed. Let's hit it to 1.25 here, folks.
I'm going to address, and this will get me sideways with conservative nonprofits who support Israel no matter what at every single point, including AIPAC. That AIPAC is a very conservative organization.
AIPAC's election war chest, financed by major donors, including several Republican billionaires and key GOP funders, has started imposing expensive consequences for lawmakers who express criticism of the U.S.'s unwavering support for Israel.
Okay, here's the truth. AIPAC donates significantly more to Democrats than Republicans. They do donate a lot to Republicans. Again, their only qualifier is Do you support Israel, period? That is not an American ideal as far as policy. They give more to Democrats. So in 2024, Democrat candidates received from AIPAC, to give you an idea, $19.1 million. I believe this is a total of congressional and Senate candidates. Republicans, $15.7 million. The average contribution on a candidate-by-candidate basis for Democrats, $117.
I bet that's going up, though. With Trump, we even saw this with Libs of TikTok, who was getting into it with stuff. And then all of a sudden, they're pushing ADL. And then all of a sudden, Libs of TikTok is pushing ADL. And you're just like, motherfuckers. I mean, those are the ones you're going to push. Who next? Rabbi Shmuley next?
$15,000 for Republicans, $66,000. So almost twice given to individual Democrats, to be clear. Let me give you some examples, by the way. And this is, look, I'm a Christian, and I sat in an evangelical church where, yeah, it was always support Israel. And by the way, of course, as Christians, we do believe that they have the right to exist to that land. Fine, but I'm separating that here. I didn't realize just how corrosive it was to have such a large organization supporting awful people who seek the destruction of your country. And here's the thing, that has nothing to do with Jews. For example, AIPAC gave $866,000 to Hakeem Jeffries, $519,000 to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Kirsten Gillibrand, $480,000, Nancy Pelosi.
Is he going to ask why, though? Right? You've got to ask, why is this being done? And if you don't go there, his thing is like, oh, because they're really at the core a liberal organization. Yeah, they are. Okay, but then start talking about who they're giving it to on the Republican side and see if there's any correlation. Are they middle of the road Republicans, or are they Josh Hawley's?
Pelosi, only $8,000, but she doesn't need it. She has insider trading to fall back on.
They gave her money in other ways.
Yeah. So this is the issue here. You have people on the evangelical right who believe that Israel's our greatest ally. That certainly is likely the case, can be argued. That doesn't mean that AIPAC is if they're giving to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hakeem Jeffries, and they brag about how 98% of their candidates are elected. Well, hold on a second. Let me ask you. Am I supposed to be on board with AIPAC? Does it make me anti-Semitic if I don't abandon my pro-First Amendment principles, my pro-Second Amendment principles, my pro-life principles? Why would I abandon all those principles just because your only qualifier is supporting Israel? I do support Israel. I don't support those candidates, and I don't support a giant organization giving those candidates money, because you're actively fighting against the United States of America. Their primary goal, AIPAC, is to get pro-Israel candidates elected. That's it. That does seem to me.
Okay. Now, but problem is Crowder still is working that Democrat side, right? His mind is almost there. He's almost catching it, and we'll see if he gets it. By the way, I have not watched this before, so I'm already shocked to death here. But someone did say every crusade eventually fails. Yes, exactly. One of the many reasons evangelicals are wrong. Exactly.
Perhaps anti-American. This is from its own website. They spent $70 million in 2024 to support pro-Israel candidates, and 90-something% of the candidates won. They even brag that they helped defeat huge Second Amendment advocate Brandon Herrera in his primary because he was not pro-Israel enough. It's like those people who say, I've been a Republican, but I can't vote for Donald Trump. It's a matter of principle. Okay, so the alternative? You abandon all your principles to vote for Kamala Harris because you don't like Donald Trump? He may not be pro-life enough for you. It's a state when we're talking about the state issue Supreme Court. Okay, fine. The choice is a candidate who supports abortion all the way up until including birth, period, and violating your right to self-preservation and transitioning minors. Why do you not have a problem with abandoning all of those principles?
Right.
Why are conservatives expected to abandon all these principles? Because they're afraid of being accused of anti-Semitism if they have a problem with AIPAC supporting Hakeem Jeffries.
Yes, that's part of it. The claim of anti-Semitism.
Wasserman Schultz, Pelosi, Gillibrand. The only qualifier of AIPAC, and this is what I believe people have a problem with. It's a legitimate gripe. The only qualifier is, do you support Israel regardless of any other constitutional stances? And that's the only thing that this group cares about, lobbying American representatives as they advocate for American policy, and they're giving you money.
Okay. Well, there you go, Stephen Crowder. Then he did a skit. And once again, I have not seen this either. Let's play this.
Okay, Mr. Candidate, where do you stand on the Constitution?
It's an antiquated doctrine. It's in need of a few updates.
Uh-huh. And your stance on the First Amendment?
Scrap it.
Got it. How about the Second Amendment?
I'd take the axe to that.
And where do you line up on Israel?
Pro-Israel.
Here you go.
Okay, that's not that funny, but there you go. I mean, you know, let's be brutally honest here. That was kind of lame. Okay, I'm just gonna keep flying through some of these little things here, but we'll build up to it. And someday I will stop having to play these kind of things. Let's play this. Stephen A. Smith, Ben Shapiro, They had a little, quote, debate. I don't know.
Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. For those that don't know, Chauvin was sentenced to 22 years in prison after being convicted of unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter of George Floyd. I wondered if you would feel that way if the officer was black and the victim was Jewish. That was what I said, and your response was to call me a race baiter. Why is
I mean, first of all, that's a bit much. I'm not a Stephen A. fan, and by the way, some of my arguments in here, it's like I would just keep going.
That Ben Shapiro.
Well, to me, the entire case against Derek Chauvin was rooted in a sort of public racial essentialism that I thought was
okay. So you see it as a racial thing. So when someone else asks you a similar racial question, that's out of bounds. Okay,
unnecessary to analyze the case. If I'm going to look at this case and just look at the facts of the case, the race of the person on the ground and the race of the officer are irrelevant, and we should treat it exactly the same, whether both people were black, both people are white, one person was Jewish, one person was not Jewish. The identity of the person on the...
It's completely true. I mean, that's the way you're going to do it. If you're going to do an analysis, you don't even need to know the color of the person. The problem is him just bringing it up and saying, hey, this is a racially charged, everybody understands this, right? And maybe Chauvin wouldn't have been convicted if this guy wasn't black and it was a summer of love and all that stuff. So then, Stephen A is just like, okay, so let's just throw it in there. If he's Jewish, oh my God. On the
ground, I think, should not be the deciding factor in whether or not Derek Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder. It should be the situation, the facts of the case, the autopsy report, and all of the rest.
Then we can do that with Israel, Palestine. We can do it with any of these other things. People coming in, terrorists, whatnot. They're making stuff in, problems in Colombia and other places. Just we don't have to think about their religious, their gender, their race. We don't need to worry about that, right? We could just say, was there an assault? Was there battery? Was someone harassing?
And so the thing that I actually objected to was the suggestion that my opinion would have changed rooted in the, say, racial or religious identity of the person who died as opposed to the racial or religious identity of the person who was the police officer. I just don't think that that's how we ought to decide criminal justice cases in general.
Yeah, but we all know it would have. For the fact that if you make comments like that, you're anti-Semitic. Okay, so that's his go-to 100%, and that's not believable. We're just going to keep flying through these losers. Keep going. Here's James Lindsay. Once again, I don't even know what he's saying. James Lindsay, Shields PragerU. Okay, this should be great.
And it's very weird, maybe providential. I'm making this statement in
okay, is he trying to use a Southern accent? Is he getting fat? What's
this
going
room, given this history I have in this room today, 3 months, and America is going to be tested like it has never been tested. And we are going to face a lurch from our young people into Nazi ideology, into anti-Israel hate.
But whoa. Let's back up here. So, Nazi ideology, okay, that could be problematic for America. He's got a flag behind him. So we'll back this up here. Once again, this is the first time I'm hearing this. This is my initial reactions. Because I want to make sure, if he's talking about the downfall of America, I am concerned about issues that are core to America, okay? And I think that's what he said. So let's see here.
This statement in this room, given this history I have in this room today, 3 months, and America is going to be tested like...
America is going to be tested. What are some things that are concerning to Americans at this point? One, inflation, that's been an issue. Egg prices, right? We're really concerned about that. Pedos, I mean, that could be another one. But no, seriously, kind of some of those things, right? Your finances, what are you doing in life? What's concerning with you? Free speech, that's always something that's concerning. Our foreign entanglements, maybe the money we're sending over to Ukraine, that was a big, all those things that are important for the election, those are still at issue now. And those are the important things. So I'm hoping he's going to say, we're testing America. Maybe it's some sort of financial issue, right? Maybe it's those, but we already heard
like it has never been tested. And we are going to face a lurch from our young people into Nazi ideology.
Okay, so Nazi ideology sounds like to me that who is being accused right now of being Nazis? Trump, Elon, right? They're getting swastikas on Teslas. I don't own one, so I think I'm okay. But you know, it's a cool little thing. You got to admit. So Nazism, that's you know, socialism. I'm not a fan of that. So okay there, but he's specifically saying Nazi ideology. By the way, I know there's the Jew aspect into Nazi ideology, but is that the only overriding thing? Is it just the means of production controlled by the state with some business interests in there? You know, you can kind of have it, but it's state controlled. Or is it overall like communism? You know, is that what you're talking about? Or is it really the white nationalist, which is, you know, you said Nazi. So we need to, you know, white nationalists, I guess that was a part of the Nazi thing. Sure. Okay. I don't know. Is that what your claim is, or is it an economic thing? Tell me about it.
Anti-Israel hate.
Okay, there we go. So anti-Israel hate. What about the anti-Russian hate that's been out there for so long? Russia is a bigger country than Israel. There's a lot of influence that they have over many regions in the world. You know, there's a lot of hate because of the war that they have with Ukraine, right? What about Ukraine? There's people that hate Ukraine for stuff too. It's the Israel hate. This is the mind of a guy that's eaten way too much, and he has maybe some parasites in it, not only his brain but his belly.
Into anti-Jewish sentiment, into racism like we have not seen in decades, maybe ever.
Okay, ever. So I'm sure he's a big believer in the Holocaust and World War II. Was that more prevalent then or now? He's basically, he's doing one of these things where are you selling
How do we stop
bars?
this?
Okay, how do we stop it?
I was going to start with a joke. My friend said, tell a Jewish joke. Here's the
people. Let me get this queued up here. This is gonna be rough. Okay, I got the applause, the crickets, sad trombone, laughter.
Jewish joke I picked up on the internet. Maybe you won't get it. I am paid by Israel to make these remarks. I make this joke now because what I want to say is that the values that PragerU is teaching to our children are...
Wait, was that the joke? He's paid by Israel? Did I miss the joke? Your punchline...
is that the values that PragerU is teaching to our children are... I make this joke now because what I want to say...
Wait, I keep missing the joke.
Here's the Jewish joke I picked up on the internet. Maybe you won't get it. I am paid by Israel to make these remarks. I make this joke now because what I want to say is that the values that PragerU is teaching to our children are exactly the solution to this problem. Marissa did not put me up to shilling for your organizations, what the point of the joke was. The values of our country, of our Bible, of our history.
Whoa. Once again, I haven't watched this, so let's do this here with me. James Lindsay books. Let's take a look at the James Lindsay books, okay? Let's see here. Cynical theories, how to everybody is wrong about God, okay? Life in light of death, God doesn't, we do. Only humans can solve human challenges. Okay, so he's pretty much an atheist. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Him and his God
are exactly what stands between us and the abyss.
Okay, there you go. You got an atheist calling out for stuff. Let's play another one
of
here.
The so-called Christian nationalism movement. I've dealt with woke people. I've dealt with communists. I have never dealt with people who lie more than these people about other people. Never dealt with people who lie about other people more than these people, which is not becoming of a Christian.
Wait, what just happened? Oh.
I am paid by Israel to make these remarks. And America is going to be tested like it has never been tested. And we are going to face a lurch from our young people into Nazi ideology, into anti-Israel hate, into anti-Jewish sentiment, into racism like we have not seen in decades, maybe ever. How do we stop this? I was going to start with a joke. My friend said, tell a Jewish joke. Because
okay,
what the people truth in America grow.
All right, I thought that was going to be a little bit more interesting. It is not. It's about what you would expect from James. So there you go. Okay. And by the way, you guys maybe fully disagree with me. Liberalism in America is based on Christian ideals, but not government-enforced Christianity. Yeah, exactly. Zionism can be communist too, James. Yeah, exactly. He's the smart guy. He's the smart kind of dumb guy. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. He's not lying. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's keep going here. This was so there's I've had a real problem with Josh Hawley. So I guess there was some stuff going on. Josh Hawley says he's a Republican. Listen to Dem Witness insist that Trump investigating Colombia for anti-Semitism makes Jewish students less safe. I'm glad Mahmoud Khalil is gone. I hope he never comes back. Okay, well, okay. Let's see what he says here that's so outrageous.
Senator, I've been very clear that OCR has a very important role, that there are complaints that should go through the process. When you start using the Department of Justice and threatening universities' funding.
You are opposed, I just want to get this on the record. You are opposed to investigating Columbia University and others for anti-Semitism?
No.
That's what you said 6 days ago.
I am not opposed to doing it the right way.
What does that mean, doing it the right way?
Not to claw back funds, not to say we're holding you ransom. We're getting your faculty, Jewish...
You were asked about an investigation for failing to protect Jewish students, and you said that's just weaponizing anti-Semitism. It makes students less safe.
It is when the Department of Justice has a list of places they want to go to. The Senator Markey's question...
Oh, I heard Senator Markey's questions. I heard his whole speech. I thought it was insane. I just want to say for the record, I thought it was totally insane. And I think your positions are similarly insane. I think the idea that we would bend over backwards to hug and kiss and make nice to a pro-Hamas rioter, because that's what...
Okay, and I would love for some details to come out. And I'm going to play a little clip here in a little bit from the debate that Joe Neerman and this other guy had. I don't know what his name is. I'll check it out. Which is... I know there's a lot of, a buddy in the chat, we had a discussion offline. Well, I know it was a little bit in the Twitter on our DMs, but he has a different feeling about this, which is perfectly fine. I get it, but let's do it in the right way, right? So the way you deal with on the left is, if you're a lefty, you call people names like Nazis, right? James Lindsay is doing the woke thing, which is you call someone a name, and once they're so despicable, a Nazi, is it okay to punch a Nazi? Do you even have, and this is what we're seeing here with, Trump gets elected, but before that, all the people are calling him Nazis, and then they're up there schmoozing with him. It's like, wait, you just called him a Nazi. But you call him a Nazi at the time so that you don't have to engage in conversation, because Nazi is the worst, most despicable thing you can say. And at some point, or a racist, or an anti-Semite, or whatever, and at some point, it gets to where you don't have to... Well, one, you don't have to engage in it, but then it dumbs down that word where it doesn't mean much anymore. Okay, so it's ridiculous, and that's what they're doing here with this guy. If you just don't, there can be, and Joe Neerman starts it, and we'll play that as well, which is he talks about this is not a First Amendment issue. This is actually a deportation. And with immigration, that's the zenith of the powers that the federal government does have to control. Perfect. I wish they would use them more. So we're having problems, and it's how we're tweaking this, right? When you're going after, Venezuelan gangs, perfectly fine, and some bad people that are here, perfectly fine. But then when you're kicking people out that do have a residency card, they've gone through the proper channels to be here, but you're doing it because in some people's mind, they're picking a foreign country that you don't like. They're not even speaking about the US. That's where it starts to get weird, right? Because that could come at us and any of us at any point. So I'm not a fan of that kind of thing. Anyway, if this Khalil guy is destroying things, you have every right to do that. But they're not bringing charges of him being like pro-Hamas. They said that initially, but I don't think you've seen anything officially, or a rioter. So Josh Hawley can, say what he wants here, and he's got every kind of exception for defamation because it's a public, it's in Congress, and so he's not gonna, if it is true, you can't bring
Khalil is, and that we would say, we can't remove him, and that makes Jewish students less safe on our campuses? That's nuts.
Senator,
That's
David,
nuts.
to Rabbi Saberstein's point, if you look at American history, the times when Jews were most vulnerable was during the Palmer raids in World War I, when there was political...
Jews are vulnerable now on our campuses because of people...
And I'm sorry to laugh. If you're a Jew in there and you're like, how dare you? It's like, fucking, you're talking Harvard, and then you're talking Columbia. These are the concerns of, look at his face. He is so concerned about overprivileged kids in college campuses. It's like, you know, this is some of the reason why I've taken a stance on this, right? You know, my kids don't go to these schools, okay? And most of this isn't happening. And it's annoying when you go to a big university where they protest and do. I get all that, okay? But you're also talking about a lot of privileged kids that I don't give a fuck about, that you are sending tons of money, they're getting federal aid for all this kind of shit. I don't care. And Josh Hawley is worked up because his buddies, maybe it's at some law firm that he gets money from.
Jews were most vulnerable was during the Palmer raids in World War I, when there was political...
Jews are vulnerable now on our campuses because of people like Khalil, and I want to say for the record, I'm glad he's gone, and I hope he never comes back.
Okay, that to me, that is humorous. That is humorous. So Glenn Greenwald says, Kenneth Stern has devoted his life to combating anti-Semitism at American Jewish Congress and other Jewish groups. Once again, I don't even know if fine. You're finding anti-Semitism around every corner. Maybe find something more useful for yourself too. He's good ally. Josh Hawley screaming that he doesn't understand how to protect campus Jews after Stern says anti-Semitism rises when you try to censor. I think that's probably a very valid point about censorship on college campuses. Okay, we're just going to keep going through here. This is Marco Rubio playing the part, doing his thing. Here we go. I haven't listened to this either.
A Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
and what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa.
Okay. Then it should be very simple. If you've got proof of that, come out with it. I want to see the vandalizing. I want to see all of that. Because if it's just the op-ed, and I don't know if we want to read the op-ed, but I've got the link to it. But here's this person, I guess, being detained. You see it there? Okay, so apparently she got taken. I mean, all I'm saying is like this is what they have to do. I don't know. Maybe she's a real threat. So I will at some point probably need to read her post, her little thingamadooey, her publication. I don't know what it is. Is there a way we can deport them twice? Northside. Thank you. Deporting the students makes sense. Okay, we can deport Hassan Piker. Just asking. Yeah, I mean, Italians are duals. Okay, I'm fine with deporting foreign students, just not for Israel. Yes, I get it. Yes, if we want to restrict these kind of things and then be, a little bit more tight or tight on the reasons for doing so, I don't have a problem with that. JC said they went from encouraging progressivism, which condones vandalizing and other forms of protest that include property damage, to suddenly claiming they don't support vandalism. Now, very good point. I would say there's a lot of, I doubt Josh Hawley was for was for vandalism. Okay, probably not. So at least maybe on your point there, JC, a lot of the right wingers, the pro-Israel right wingers, maybe they're consistent on that. I don't know. Could be. But I just want to play here. We're gonna go to, and then I got some other things here. This is this guy. So what's his name? Culture War. They're talking about that. I don't know what this guy's name is. Let's see if it says it in here. Good logic. Pisco Liddy. Pisco Liddy is his name. I don't know. So they've been arguing back and forth here. We're at about 25 minutes, and this guy brings up a point, and I think he's actually been doing just fine on his arguments. But a lot of the people that don't like, and I think Joe as well. Joe is he starts out, and I'd say watch this if you want. Joe Neerman starts out saying, this is actually not a First Amendment issue. You can deport these people. And this guy comes back and says, yeah, I get it. But you're saying that he's doing all these things, but you're not actually charging him with any of those. So it makes it seem like it's maybe just about Israel, okay? And he hadn't gone down that route to begin with, and now he's going.
Examples him, and I really appreciate it because that goes to show you.
Hang on, I don't want to do this at 1.25. Let's see, playback. Oh, it's normal. Okay, let's go.
The extent to which the government actually has latitude in all kinds of. They could have done it through another means. They could have said, we're doing it because there's bullshit about the lie, which we can get into on your green card application. They could have found some other means. They could have charged them with a crime with a neutral ground, but they didn't. The reason they said it's because you support Hamas is because they're trying to signal, they're trying to bully private actors, just like they're doing with the universities, just like they're doing with the firms, just like we're doing with all these actors. They're trying to put a signal and say, hey, if you disagree with us on policy on Israel, we're going to make you hurt. And
okay, so I just want to express this here because this is the problem I have. This guy, by the way, there's probably everything besides this one issue, and I'm not even fully on board with this issue, that I disagree with this guy. He hates Trump, perfectly fine. You can hate him. I dislike Trump for different reasons than he does, okay? We're coming at Trump on a different level, okay? I think Trump's at my back. Trump's in his front. So, I'm not looking at, because I'm trying to lead Trump. Okay, I'm trying to lead Trump to be better on some issues than I think he is, okay? This guy is standing, pushing, I don't know what I'm going with this analogy. Anyway, let's go here.
So you're right. If they actually thought...
I want to go back just a tad bit here. There you go.
All these actors, they're trying to put a signal and say, hey, if you disagree with us on policy on Israel, we're going to make you hurt. And so you're right. If they actually thought he was a security threat, why not go through the other methods of doing so? But they said it specifically, and Rubio's coming out.
So this is about the Jews.
Okay, funny, but he didn't say that. He said policy on Israel. This is what we just talked about here. Calling names, James Lindsay saying people are Nazi, getting worked up over that kind of shit. Anti-Semitism. We just heard Josh Hawley, and this is why it's frustrating because I don't know, is this guy pro-Hamas or is he just simply saying I'm not pro-Israel or I'm pro-Palestine? Fine, be that way. Justin Amash, his family's there. There's Christians that live actually in Palestine. I'm not even caring about either side of this issue because I don't really there's bad people on both sides, as he would say, but it's very disingenuous, and you're going to see the reaction from him when he was specific about Israel policy, not Jews who happen to live there. Okay, so that's it.
Because they're trying to signal, they're trying to bully private actors, just like they're doing with the universities, just like they're doing with the firms, just like we're doing with all these actors. They're trying to put a signal and say, hey, if you disagree with us on policy on Israel, we're going to make you hurt. And so you're right. If they actually thought he was a security threat, why not go through the other methods of doing so? But they said it specifically, and Rubio's coming out.
So this is about the Jews. That's what it's about.
No, listen, you agree. This is about authoritarianism and coercion. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about the First Amendment.
Oh my God. You see, this is
he's suing a pollster.
I'm so tired of leftists just coming to these conclusions as far as I can look inside his head and I know better than anyone exactly what Trump is really thinking, even though I've seen policy after policy that is issued that has had nothing to do whatsoever with reaching the conclusions I've reached. I'm still going to come out here and tell you, I know what he's thinking. He doesn't care about the First Amendment. He doesn't care about due process. He only cares about himself. You can see one piece of evidence after another.
he did say, take the guns and we'll worry about due process after. I mean, I'm not, there's nothing in Trump that we've seen. I mean, I get, good logic here. I don't defended him. I took that, did a whole video about how his, I don't think he was defrauding someone and he got $100,000 judgment against him. Whoops. And yes, if he had lawyers' liability insurance, that would have been a much better issue. My point, though, is with all this said and done, he's being a little bit much here. Okay, I don't know. Let's keep going.
Another about this, and you're going to come out there and you're going to say to yourself, oh no, I know better than you, everyone else. Why? Because I'm sitting here on the outside. Even though I've been tilted and I've come across him every single way, I'm going to look at any way I possibly can to frame it against him.
There is no other explanation. There is no other explanation. If they thought it was because of his criminal conduct, they would say so. If they thought it was, and now they have this bullshit pretext about after the fact
what they said was, let's look at what they did say. What they said was that we consider him a national security issue. What is this proper procedure to do under that issue?
Okay, so what did this guy say to begin? This is what makes me laugh, right? And it's like I'm not a fan of. I'm side with Joe on most stuff here, right? But I mean, come on. This guy said they're bullying about Israel, and then Joe's like, "Oh, it's about the Jews." It's like, well, I said Israel policy first of all, and then so what did he just say? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here.
Yourself, oh no, I know better than you, everyone else. Why? Because I'm sitting here on the outside. Even though I've been tilted and I've come across him every single way, I'm going to look at any way I possibly can to frame it against him.
There is no other explanation. There is no other explanation. If they thought it was because of his criminal conduct, they would say so. If they thought it was, and now they have this bullshit pretext about after the fact
what they said was, let's look at what they did say. What they said was that we consider him a national security issue.
There you go. That's why I got that. So now it's a national security threat. Okay, and then I'm sorry, that's laughable. It's just like Epstein. We got to redact it for national security interests. I'm sorry, Joe. There's nothing in what this guy is doing is a national security threat when he's talking about two countries that were not here. He's talking about Israel, which the guy just made a point of, and then you try to bully him with this, and then you're saying it's national security, and if you're going to buy it, I mean, fuck, just say we don't want this motherfucker in our country. We don't want dirty Muslims in our country.
What is this proper procedure to do under that issue, under that setting? And the proper procedure is laid out in the APA that I started with, that you wanted to just jump away from. The APA and the steps that they were actually taking was saying we're going to process him through an administrative immigration judge, and he's going to examine this to make sure that we are not just capturing him, throwing a bag over his head, and
like they're doing with the Venezuelans. Like they're doing with the Venezuelans, yes?
I don't know.
Like they're doing with the Venezuelans, not even giving them the opportunity to file habeas petitions.
What I'm saying
it's disgusting. You're defending this regime.
Habeas petitions.
Okay, and this is where I get frustrated, which I'm like, oh, you're defending this regime. It's like, oh God, these are two partisan hacks in a sense. And by the way, I love Joe. I'm fine with him. But it's a bit hacky with the simping, okay? We can all just go here and go like, look, come on. Trump is a bit much, okay? He should not be your thought leader, okay? Let's just be real simple about that. I'm perfectly fine with that. So, he's like, you don't know his mind. And I was like, yeah, but you don't know his mind either, okay? And it could just be that he's got Adelson, all this Israel money coming flying in with him, and he's fine with it. I don't know. I don't know what the point is. Other than this can be somewhat of a frustrating discussion here with these guys, because I don't think any of them are really have their shit. Look, this is what's more important. 4 deputies from the same Texas Sheriff's Office have committed suicide in the past 6 weeks. That's insane. It's not even statistically possible. So let's watch this a bit.
Friends and family said goodbye to veteran Harris County Deputy Christina Caller. Her death last week was ruled a suicide. Caller is one of 4 current or former Harris County deputies who've taken their own lives in just the last 6 weeks. ABC 13's Jessica Willey is live tonight, and this is leading to important conversations about the need for support, Jessica.
Yeah, Eric, the department has a behavioral health division that has made great strides since it was established in 2020 and has led the way, its director says, among law enforcement agencies. But these recent deaths are raising serious concerns for the deputies organization. The question is, what more should they be doing?
It caught.
How about find the killer? You know, that could be item number one. These aren't suicides, people. I can't emphasize that enough, that I don't believe these are suicides. And I don't know anything about this. That's just
Harris
not
County
possible.
Sheriff's Deputy Christina Kohler left home last week and was never seen again. Houston police issuing this alert. The 37-year-old found.
I don't know. It says 5'1", 120. I mean, what does she have? All her weight in her face and none of it in her body? Come on.
On the 13th, she had taken her own life. 3 days later, Maria Vasquez, who left the department in December, died by apparent suicide. William Bozeman, also a former deputy, died earlier this week. Tragic news.
One is too many. You know, 2, 3 is, yes, it's definitely devastating.
That Jose Lopez is helping his friends and colleagues try to process.
It hits very close to home, and it's a reminder to us of how fragile life is. It's also a reminder that we do need to look out for each other. We do need to take care of each other.
Lopez is the president of the Harris County Deputies Organization.
Someone's, this is why I love the chat. Someone says, what the fuck is that watermark on the top? This is the count that expose racists and pedos. That's heard racists and pedos are on Twitter, and I'm here to expose them. 250,000 followers. I mean, okay.
But he knew 2 of the late deputies personally.
I knew him for over 20 years.
In just 6 weeks' time, 4 current and former deputies have taken their own lives. Psychologist Thomas McNeese is the director of the department's Behavioral Health Division.
These last few weeks have been difficult for our staff and for the sheriff's office as a whole.
He says he and his division work to provide resources to both former and current employees who are struggling. They embed to help people feel more.
Okay, I'm done with this one. I am curious how they did commit suicide. What if later in the report is like, oh, it was all very tragic. It was gunshot wounds to the back of the head. You're like, wait, maybe it's murder. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they did it. So, you know, that could be a confusing thing. Look, I mean, people, if you got trouble and it's you're out there and you're in a bad place, you know, go get help. If you're a police officer, but I didn't shoot the deputy. Yeah, exactly. It's even weirder that 2 of them were chicks. Normally women don't actually commit suicide. Well, the women, I don't know the statistics. I know that women don't do it the way men do. Women will do it in a way that will preserve their looks, where men will do it, you know, in horrific fashion for some reason. Cartel shit, Magoo. Oh, welcome, Magoo. Yes, perhaps it's definitely that. Could be cartel shit. We're cruising through this. Look, just throw this up here. This was, I'm not going to play any, well, maybe it was Jip. We'll join in progress, jump into the middle. This is me on with these 2 guys, horseshoes and hand grenades. How about we just skip to the middle here somewhere and see what's going on?
Maybe a minute in there.
I've never seen the show, so.
Oh, okay. Yes, you have. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we have this production chat, and it's when I first got in there, like Toad's like, well, I've got this spreadsheet, and everyone, you know, they put in links that you might want to be, you know, talking videos, whatever, something that you might want to discuss and so they put it on the spreadsheet. I had this elaborate spreadsheet, and then it started getting more and more elaborate. And now Toad has taken it over, which is, they got all excited.
Yes, you know, the stars.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with that, but that didn't really tell the story. Toad's taken over the spreadsheet. So I had this spreadsheet. You can watch the show for the full details, but they put all the links into the chat, and then I put them on the spreadsheet so we can, you know, call them up later. And it's always frustrating because Toad is, he overdoes it in the chat with these ones, and they're not funny. Half of them are just like, what are you doing? This isn't even, this is a production chat. I don't really care that you're, mocking someone online, or that you have a new profile, a cartoon picture of yourself or Dave Smith that you're going to go see his comedy show. That's not for us to discuss. Do that in a different chat. Anyway, so that's in there. And so, but then, so I took the chat and I took the links and I put them in a spreadsheet, and I'd then rank them, because I'm like, every time Toad comes in here, it's horrible, but there may be a banger. And then I want to, sort them out if I get, told to bring up an issue in the show. So I would just add them to the spreadsheet, and Toad's rankings were 1 by default. Clint's were 3, 1 out of 5, 3 by default. And then I would watch the clip or whatever it was, I'd check it out, and then I'd make a determination. I'd upgrade or downgrade accordingly. Sometimes Toad had some 5s. Mostly he would have a 2 or 3 in there. Clint could be a 3, hardly ever dropped below that, because he wasn't overdoing it. He'd just find a good one and put it in there. A lot of them 4 or 5s with Clint. So I had who did it, what was the thing? Then somehow one time I showed them the spreadsheet, which they should have been all looking at to begin with. I kept telling them, look at the spreadsheet, call it up. Then they look and they get all excited because I had really gone elaborate with the sorting and everything you did. And then Toad takes it over. And then now, instead of like maybe 20 or 30 links in there, last week, 65. It's impossible. It's impossible. And they took the ranking out and they changed rank to, is it about whores? Is it about blacks? Is it about, and so I'm like, okay. But Toad's doing it. That's the whole point. Go watch Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. I had a thoroughly good time with those gentlemen on there. We're almost done here. We're almost getting through the show. Thomas Massey introduces a bill, Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. This boy is just breaking. I mean, he's not holding back. Today I introduced HR 2356, the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. If we continue to allow dual citizens to run for federal office, candidates should disclose to voters all countries in which they hold citizenship. This seems like an easy thing, and he's going to get a lot of hate for that, just throwing that out there. One other thing that I think I want to start, this is more like what's going to happen in upcoming shows. This is the Luigi Mangione Legal Defense website. They have all the cases up here. Some people have asked about his especially with his thing with the state of Pennsylvania, the pretrial motion for relief, his amended omnibus pretrial motion for relief filed. I would like to go over those, because that is some interesting legal aspects of, was he in custody? Can they get to the notes or the what was in his backpack? Because it's called fruit of the poisonous tree. If they didn't have a legal right to search his backpack at the time, then anything that comes from that could be pushed out. Now, from a legal perspective, you see this and you're like, fine, this is how it should be, and boom, it's out. Well, it's not always out. And you never know with the leniency. Now, this is one case in Pennsylvania. Then you have New York. Then you have federal. Somehow, they're probably going to get some of this evidence or most of it in, and Luigi is going to be fried at some point. So I would actually like to look at his pretrial motion here to see what it is about, excluding evidence. I think it'll be somewhat interesting. We will go over that shortly at some point. And then there's a few other things. Look, there's this pardon that we're talking about here of the auto pen. Now, Trump goes out here and does an executive order that the auto pen, since he didn't sign it himself, Biden, Fauci and them are not actually pardoned. But I think just because they didn't sign it in person. Now, I think you have a better argument, I don't know how you're going to prove this, that Joe Biden didn't know he was signing these things, right? So doing an auto pen is okay, and if there's legal precedence for that, we have that here, some writings about all this, case law, but the fact that Joe Biden didn't know he was doing that and someone else was doing it under the auspice of being Joe Biden, that might be a reason that we would have a little bit more of an issue of maybe Fauci. But we talked about that before, where I believe Fauci and some of these other people, then they can't come into Congress and actually take the Fifth Amendment, and they're going to have to actually testify. So they may not be, there may be a legal issue going on there. But yeah. However, I want to bring this up in a little bit different context, which is, maybe we'll see this one. Well, that's not doing it either. Joe Biden talked about the 28th Amendment and whether it was actually ratified. With that in mind, there is this actual article I'm going to read, or we'll either do it this weekend or next week. I wanted to do it all this week, but there was too many little videos and things to go. It's a whole entire article by this guy, Bill Watkins, about the 14th Amendment. So I think maybe at some point we need to, because look, we're joining the list of these guys.
Top Lobster Productions.
Yeah, we're conglomerating under all this thing here. I would love to do more than one show a week. I would love to do an extra show and maybe one that's specifically about legal concepts, and then the other one that's kind of about like the shit that we just went over today. So the 14th Amendment, this breaks it down, why it's not applicable, why it shouldn't be incorporated as far as the first 9 amendments via the 14th, but also about the ratification. And if you get people such as all the right-leaning legal scholars, can you be consistent? And one of those consistencies is, look, the 28th Amendment is not legit because it wasn't legally ratified. There was a time frame in there. It should have been ratified, whatever the reasons are. It wasn't legally ratified. Therefore, boom, it's out. Okay, that Equal Rights Amendment is gone and done. It was never ratified. How about the 14th Amendment and how it was never ratified? If you're on board for one not being ratified for specifics, following the legalese, then maybe the 14th Amendment as well, which it wasn't. And we could break that down because this is actually a pretty fantastic. Okay, oops, that's not what I wanted to show. So we will actually look at that at some point coming up, and maybe this weekend, depending on how my weekend goes. Shout out Connie and Aspa. Yes, it's amazing Bastian's bill even has to be proposed. Yeah, someone under him, Magoo, said, yeah, I had dual citizenship and I wanted to join the U.S. military, and they made me renounce one of my to join. It's like, yeah, but you're joining the military. It makes sense, right? But so does running for Congress. And you had Brian Mast out wearing an IDF outfit, a costume. I call it a costume. Trump needs to sign an executive order that all items requiring a president's signature be live streamed and done with an oversized Sharpie. Magoo, you're not wrong. I've enjoyed him. Oh yeah, this is a big one. Look at this. And what to do in the Oval Office. I think it is. So Top is now like that Lewis. Is that like that Lewis, the rattlesnake Puerto Rican? Kind of. I mean, look. Top Lobster does things where I don't know if I watched a show of theirs the other day. He and what's his name? Raven. And Raven was making the comment of, okay, let's go back up a little bit. Telepathy tapes. They were talking about the telepathy tapes, and they had a different angle on it. And then they were talking about it. They're finally going to do it because Ian Carroll had come out and kind of stole some of their thunder, but they had a different angle. So they were going to put theirs out, and then they're going to put it behind the paywall and then not release it for another week. Meanwhile, Ian Carroll just keeps steamrolling all this stuff. And I'm like, dudes, you're already, the shit has hit in the fan. You need to get in there as well. Don't paywall it, just go. Anyway, Raven, that was the show I was watching, but Raven was talking about how he mentioned something, and let me back up. Telepathy tapes, could be. I watched a show on Netflix about this lady that this guy can't speak, and she falls in love with him. She's got a husband and kids, and she's not ugly, and it's this black guy that she's helping, and he can't talk. He's nonverbal, but she has this method where he speaks, and only she can, he consented to have sex with her. Oh my God. So it's a horrible thing. She's obviously demonic and whatnot. So I don't know about the telepathy tapes. I don't think those. I think it's fake. I think a lot of it's fake. That when only one person is able to see how they talk or they project, that seems a little odd. Now, with that in mind, I haven't watched it. Okay, just throwing that out there. But Raven says about Top Lobster, he goes, look, I have an idea. I say something and that boy just runs with it. Yes. So Top Lobster runs with things, and we need to have some sort of network. You're right. The rattlesnake, gas and digital, something like that under the umbrella. There's a lot, these guys are making money, and they're starting to do, and you have to think ahead. And if you're starting to get to a point that, like running my business, I was talking to a friend, and his business kind of blew up, and he was telling me that, when he had, he said, it was stagnant it was fine with, just a handful of people, 1 to 5, between 5 and 10, it was unmanageable. And over 10, it started to be manageable to like your growth. So there's some problems with that. And they're kind of getting there with that. With these guys are moving, shaking, Liberty lockdown and whatnot. And, Tower Gang is moving and we're trying to do our thing here. And with that in mind, we're trying to project, how this is going to work. And so we want to actually get in line and get things set in place. And Top Lobster, he's a doer. I mean, there's something in there. He just pushes ahead and does it, which is good to a lot of extent. Some of it, I'm just like, I'm a little bit more like for as an example, want to do projects at my house or the garage or fencing for the chickens or. I'm thinking about it all and I draft it all out and I have this whole plan and then I move forward. He moves forward and then just pulls things with him, hoping that everything works out. The floating pile of garbage rattlesnake, right? Who's bringing the Goya? MAGA, Make America Goy again? I don't know about that. Lewis spends a lot of time on the subway. Top built the subway. That's true. This is Puerto Rican showdown. This is a very Puerto Rican showdown. Very, very well could be. So anyway, I'm excited about where things could go. I would love to do this instead of my job. My job's very stressful, but my job does pay well. So that's where I'm kind of sitting for now. So anyway, there's where we have it. So anyway, hit the like, hit the subscribe, do all those things you're supposed to do. Make sure you share this show out there, and we will hear every Friday night. Around 4:30 Pacific, 4 to 5 Pacific, whatever that 7 to 8 Eastern, and whatever your time zone is in between. I'm also putting out some shorts. Try to do those afterwards. So anyway, hope everyone had a good week. Let's see. Did I have an outro going in here? We could do more Tim Pool. There we go. All right, guys. We will see you next week. They don't have Goya black beans in Cali. I don't know what that is. Maybe they do. What's Goya? Say a prayer for my land purpose to go through. Okay, well, hey, prayers for you guys. See you. Look, if you subscribe here, you may get a show this weekend. So don't forget about that. See you.
Okay, I'm leaving now, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any knowledge of the real world of what happens, we walk into Tim Katz's studio, immediately there's 4 Jewish lawyers.
King of the Druids!
Oh, that's all we needed. A Jewish princess.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't expect the normies like Tyler to understand these kind of things. He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
This guy's, I wouldn't say he's full of shit, but I'd say he's stupid. Whatever, if you're in the comments, if you're in the chat now, I wouldn't pay attention to anything he says anyway. But
more or less, eat shit and die.
Don't ever come to Top Lobster. He will end you. Do you see what he just did to Tyler? Just fucking challenge this.
Yeah, Tyler's done.
Top is a maniac.
He can't even reply right now because he's crippled.
He's got nothing to say.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?